Hi, we're welcome back to another Mindset Monday for parents. Now, the reason why we gather in this group, in the Raising Our Resilience parent group, is so that we can have like-minded people to share ideas with, to problem solve with, to feel less alone with. It's really important in times like this, especially times like these that isolate us, for us to find our community and our affinity groups. I just released my newsletter today talking about this topic, and you can look back a few weeks to where I talk about ways of building community during this time so that we can feel more supported and less on our own. Today, I'm reintroducing really 7 key, very essential ingredients that when you have in place lead to incredible outcomes for kids, even under the most unreliable, challenging, difficult circumstances. Okay, and of course, we're already assuming basic safety and basic needs met of food, water, and shelter. Okay, but in addition to that, I found specifically 7 areas that are not necessarily intuitive and don't necessarily come without some coordination, some effort, some mentorship, some partnership, and without support. And from what I found, I've developed a framework called the 7 Pillars of Raising a Resilient Child. And here's a parent guide all about it. I'd be happy to share it with you. I'll put the PDF link into the post so you can, in comments, so you can check it out. But I'm going to walk you through it real briefly today. And what I want you to know is that I have a year-long program based on these 7 pillars where we go into them, each pillar really deeply, and get to do things like design routines and get really clear on what limits we're going to set and how we're going to set them. We learn really great tools in conflict resolution. We learn how to get on the same page as a family, and it's a year-long process. Some people even spend more than 2 years with me. So there's that available. It's like the big enchilada, the master class buffet. Okay, there's that version. And then I also drop in several times a year into the motivation mastery piece and the emotional mastery piece, and put on 3-day events for parents who want to do an immersive experience. Unmuted. Okay, I think it's back now. Yes. Okay. So we have the year-long version. We have the 3-day version. I have folks who work with me as private clients for 6 months, where we meet twice a month until we get our goals met. Okay. But what I want you to have right here in the Raising Resilience Parent Group is an abbreviated, hot, quick tip version. Today, I'm going to walk you through all 7. And then for the next 7 weeks, we're going to drop into each pillar, thinking about back to school, having back to school in mind. How do we set our kids up for success so that they can be resilient no matter what is being thrown at them through the virtual learning, through hybrid, through pods, through homeschooling, through, coming back to the classroom full time, whatever's happening in your world. I want you to have these tools so that you can go forward more confidently. Okay, sound good? Yeah. So if you're here with me, go ahead and let me know in the comments. Just let me know where you're tuning in from, and I'll share with you. We can share with each other. Okay. So in this framework, the 7 pillars, the reason why I chose these 7 is because it leads to really important outcomes that, from what I've seen, parents all tend to want for their children. This is based on a multitude of studies, including my own research study about things like motivation and emotional resilience and other things. So outcomes that we can expect when children have these 7 pieces in place: better friendships, improved social intelligence, higher reported satisfaction with life and with school, more appreciation and more pro-sociality. In other words, kindness, friendly acts of, reaching out to people when they need help, offering help, less behavior challenges at home and school, It's also correlated to a higher GPA and better engagement in school. That's what I found in my study, better engagement. And it lowers the risk of anxiety and depression, especially in adolescence, as well as school dropouts and risky behavior in adolescence. And in general, it leads to more critical thinking skills and just a general sense of like striving to try to like fulfill like that thing that you want to do, that goal you have in the short term or long term, and just general thriving, right? Like feeling emotionally and socially satisfied and happy, being well adjusted emotionally, things like that. So the 7 pillars are, and you can write these down if you'd like, but you'll also have this guide, are emotional mastery, motivational mastery, having healthy boundaries, having robust routines, being able to solve conflicts and repair, being able to set mutual goals and work towards them as a team, and to be able to form positive relationships with other people. Okay. Now, usually when folks take my discovery quiz and they quiz to see which of these pillars are the strongest and which are the ones that you need more support in, generally there are at least 3 that people would love some more support with. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be here in the Raising Our Resilience group, right? There's something that they're kind of like looking at sort of solidifying. And not just that, I think parents in general, there are these areas of life that are just like I said, not intuitive. They're not easy to sort of just download from what you grew up with, or like having been an adult with not around children for maybe 20, 30, 40 years, and suddenly with children, like not really knowing how to dial into the kid's age and what they're ready for, right? Like we would love for our toddler to just like do their whole morning routine and their whole evening routine completely by themselves, for example, but they're not quite ready for that. We would love our 5-year-old to no longer have tantrums and meltdowns, but they still have big emotions, and sometimes they erupt into, you know, bigger episodes. We would love our teenager and us to be like on the same page about everything, reaching towards mutual goals. But there's conflict there, right? Where they want something different than maybe what the family wants, or what their sibling wants, or what their parent wants, and you have to navigate those waters. So the whole point of this 7 pillars is to set up parents from age 0 all the way up through all the years. I still have these strategies, many of these strategies in place with my 21 and 24-year-old. Yeah. Okay. So the quick hot tip I have for each of these, just to get us started. All right. The first one, when it comes to emotional mastery, you're going to want to get really good at being able to gauge how upset you are and how upset your children are in the moment. And there's this model called brain in the palm of your hand that Dr. Daniel Siegel came up with, that all my clients loved, kids loved, previous students have loved, interns have loved. Like this is just, it's been a great model. I've seen it at conferences with thousands and thousands of people, right? It's this idea that you can learn about your brain through a model that's kind of in your hand. And what happens when you get upset is your lid flips. So I say that one of the jobs of the adult in the room, whoever has more life experience, even if you're not feeling like the adult in the room, is to become a good lid detector, to be able to detect how far off someone's lid has flipped, metaphorically, right? So are they quarter way off, halfway off, 3/4, all the way off? Taking action to put that lid back on before doing anything like making a decision or talking it through or finding a solution. So that's number 1 under the emotional mastery pillar. And I'll be giving some talks this fall about navigating meltdowns that I'll announce soon. So that is a very special topic that we can go deeper with. Motivation mastery, pillar number 2. If you want to boost your child's motivation, one of the most important things you need to do is learn your own motivation hacks. Like what gets you to do a task even if you don't feel like it? How do you cope with that, and how do you break through that? Yeah. So getting really tuned into your own ways of kind of getting through any obstacles to motivation. Here's an example. There's a ton of chores to do, you don't really feel like it, and you know your kids are watching, they're around, and you would much rather zone out in Netflix in the back of the house and hide, right? So maybe it's time for you to take a little rest, take a little break, take a 10-minute, maybe you need to like put on one of these chimes and breathe or something. And once you feel like, okay, I really just need to get this done, Maybe you turn on some music and make it a game where you set a 1-hour timer and you see if you can finish all your chores before the timer goes off while you listen to some of your favorite dance hits that your kids also love. And next thing you know, the whole family's up and putting dishes away and folding laundry and mopping the floor, and the hour timer goes off and you're all like, woo, we did it. We got this, and this done. And we only have one thing left, and you just do it. This weekend, I did that with my roommates. We hauled 4 cubic yards of soil and wood chips into the back. And it was great. One person like gave gifts to everybody of like lattes and coffee in the morning. That was really motivating. I turned on some music. We set a goal. We made a plan. We like cheered each other on. We switched roles. Next thing you know, 3.5 hours later, they go by and we're done. So learning your own motivation hacks for yourself and modeling it for your kids. Hot tip number 2. First one is becoming a really good lid detector. How upset people are, getting really tuned into your own and theirs and doing something about it. Number 2 is getting those motivation hacks running and really letting your kids know you're using them. You can admit, I don't really feel like doing this right now, but what I think will help is and do it. Okay, third one, healthy boundaries. My hot tip for healthy boundaries is to get as clear as possible about what the boundaries are. I know it's kind of obvious, but when you actually know why you have a rule and what needs to happen, like what the expected behavior is, and you actually share it with your child outside of that moment that you're setting the limit, it goes so far. My clients just did this module this month. August is our setting limits month. And we spent a whole 2-hour session actually learning more about this, and in doing the workshopping through, like, what is the limit I want to set? How am I going to communicate to my child? Why do I even have this limit? What is my child learning from this? So the headline there is get really clear about the limits that you want to set. Because if you're not clear, then there's a whole lot of gray that they can paint different shades in. Yeah. And be willing to change your mind as you learn and as your kids grow and learn to manage themselves, or the situation shifts. Maybe you're going from virtual to hybrid learning, and your rules about, how maybe your hygiene procedure is going to be different because now they're going in and out of the house. There's a whole nother routine, a whole nother sort of protocol or expectation about wearing a mask, washing hands, things like that. Things can shift, right? But getting really clear for right now what it is that you expect and what it is you hope to achieve through that limit or through that rule. So to review, 3 things, right? Lid detector, being able to really be able to read your mood and their mood. Knowing motivation boosters and hacks and sharing them doing them, role modeling them and sharing them with your kids. Third one, getting super clear about what boundaries you have and why. Fourth one, routines. Now, for now, all I want you to do is try to get in a regular rhythm with things that really affect your kids' biology. Bedtime, wake time, meal time, snack time, rest time, exercise, okay? I really want you to look at a typical day, and just notice, where do those things land, and where if anywhere, do you think they need to be shifted to set the kids up biologically for success? Enough rest, enough calories, enough water, enough movement and exercise and play, and enough rest, okay? Besides sleep, kind of downtime during the day. So getting really clear about that and getting in a rhythm about that, so that no matter what, at least you all know what those times are, and the things that fill in between we'll get to later, okay? I also have talks just on building robust routines, and hopefully we'll be able to give a talk or 2 this fall about that, because going back to school and having great routines, they go really well together. Yeah? Okay. 5th one, conflict resolution and repair. Woo, this is a juicy one. I love this one. So when it comes to conflict resolution and repair, my headline for this one, my hot tip is actually do it. Because what we often do is there'll be a blow up, there'll be a thing, and we'll kind of just go, oh my gosh, I just want to move on, which sometimes is a good idea to let it go. You don't have to address every single thing that ever went wrong in any day. We would go nuts. We'd have a long list, right? But pick at least one of many, maybe not even every day, but once a week at least, to just model and practice going through those steps of solving a conflict together, where each person gets to speak and listen, where ideas and feelings are shared, where it's safe to brainstorm and think of a better way forward next time. I call it the revisit reset in my trainings, and I spend a whole month twice a year on this in our Family Foundations Immersion. And we talk about sincere apologies and different ways to repair and all these things, but the headline, again, is to actually do it. And what it does is it gives you and your child a way to learn from the conflict, to learn from the mistake, to learn how to fix and repair. Because unaddressed impacts can become injury, and then injury unaddressed can become, trauma to the relationship or to the individual. And then it creates this wound that is just there, and then the child has to unpack that later, or it'll keep playing out. I mean, how many of you have noticed something that just keeps coming up and is a conflict, right? It needs to be resolved. So my recommendation is get into a rhythm of revisiting and resetting and making new agreements about what you're going to do next time. Okay, so actually do it would be go ahead and repair something today. Okay, that's my hot tip. Okay, we're on 6 of 7. Hang in there. All right, we've already talked about being a lid detector, how to model motivation hacks to get clear on your boundaries, to do a good job with the biorhythm of the day in terms of routines, those meals and those rest times, that you should practice repairing something. Pick something and go for it, especially something that just, is kind of, you've got in your craw, and you can tell that they do too. And then mutual goals and teamwork is the 6th one. Now, this kind of comes naturally from doing the first 5. Can you see why? Like if you're practicing managing emotions and being motivated together, if you're clear, having clear boundaries and good, smoothly running routines together, and you do a good job repairing, doesn't that kind of naturally lead to being able to set mutual goals and work towards them as a team? What I've seen is yes. Yes, it does. So my only tip here would be to, have conversations that feel a little bit scripted in a sense, but about important things, right? Like, why do we value using a respectful tone and a quiet tone of voice in our home? Why do we think it's important to be able to yell and express our feelings? Those are both viable options, right? Why do we spend our extra money visiting family instead of planning trips away from our family? Why do we plan trips away to other cultures and places instead of to see our family? Both options, right? I'm picking topics on purpose that people could disagree about and have different views on. And I'm encouraging you to have an open and curious dialogue about it, not to make your point, but to hear your partner or co-parent or other caregiver's perspective. That will get you on the same page faster than pretty much anything else. Okay, so have the conversations about what you care about and why. It's really, really helpful to get more on the same page. Now, and to get to that kind of deeper thread. Okay, it also can lead to like this sort of feeling of intimacy between people, where you're not just doing the daily tasks and kind of trucking along on the surface, but you actually feel that deeper sense of connection and relatedness and understanding. Now, positive relationships, I've got an easy one, which is to, find something that you admire about each of the people in your family and tell them. Just do it. Tell them. And I'm going to encourage you to praise not their like talents, like, oh, you're so smart, or you're such a good musician, things that might be fixed qualities, which is a whole nother conversation about growth and mindset and fixed mindset, but more about like things that they embody, like the 24 character strengths, for example, like, wow, I really noticed your leadership when you solved that problem between you and your sister. You also had a lot of humility when you listened to her idea too. And I can tell that you're practicing your forgiveness for the thing that she did. I just really admired that about you. Way to go, honey. Whew, like what a lovely thing to be seen, right? And to be witnessed and to share about and to have affirmed. So find something good about your family members and let them know at least once a day, if you can. Yeah? Okay, so 7 hot tips for 7 pillars to raise a resilient child. Now, why do these things come together and help with resilience? Well, what we've come to understand in, as in the research community, of which I am a very small part of, but I have participated in, is that in order for children and to have a sense of resilience, that they can pick themselves up when they fall down, they need several things. Some of it is about the individual, having things like self-regulation, self-motivation, clarity about goals, clarity about purpose. Like these are all great things to have, right? Good self-care practices like those, like the routine, good self-care when it comes to boundaries with other people, respecting them and setting them, right? All of those pillars. You see that? Also a sense of relatedness. And this is sometimes the piece that's missing the most, which is a meaningful connection with others so that they know that they're a part of a support system. Because kids are more likely to take greater, make greater strides and take even greater like risks, like let's say going for their dream or going for that tough job or, applying for a grant or maybe as a kid, like making a new friend, like a young child, making a new friend, getting in the pool for the first time. They're more likely to do that if they feel like a web of support behind them, like a whole community, a whole tribe of people, of folks behind them, even if it's just a tribe of one. Having one supportive, warm, caring, supportive adult who is also demanding, in other words, holding a child to the high standard, is one of the top predictors of positive outcomes across the board for children. And that's why I invest my time and my energy and my good experiences and tools and strategies into parents, because I think parents are perfectly positioned to be that person for their children. When schools might change, friends might change, you might move to another state or country or county, city, right? You will most likely be their constant if and when possible. So I would much rather train you, the parents, with a model of resilience than what I used to do, which is I would train school communities and teachers, which I still do some, but I'm really invested in parents right now. And you can probably feel into why. Because when you have these 7 pieces in place, you really get to like create this thriving community of family members who also are striving. You get to enjoy your time together more with more ease and less power struggles. You get to like navigate some of the toughest stuff together and come out stronger and wiser for it. Yeah. And to me, like when my grandfather passed and we sat there and we talked about his life, and in his last years, all he cared about was his kids. Like he just wanted to see us all. He just wanted to know we were okay. He just wanted to know that his love meant something on this planet, right? And I'm thinking about even, that helped me fast forward to when they do this deathbed exercise where you look back on your life and you're like, what was great? What happened, or making meaning of your whole experience in this lifetime. And it's going to be the people. It's going to be the people. It's not going to be the stuff or the status or anything, maybe if there was some kind of cultural contribution you made, sure. But generally it's going to be the people and how well you loved and how well you were loved while you were here. And so really it comes down to unlocking what I think is one of the most powerful forces on this planet, which is the love between parents and children, specifically the love that parents have for their children. So if you connect with this, you resonate with this, I highly recommend that you bring more people into this group, tag them in this message, help them see the possibility, walking through these 7 pillars, what's possible. Know that there's like this resource here that you can share with others. And I also want you to know that we are going to do another Motivation Mastery weekend. We sold out and had an amazing time. We had, about, I think it was like 40 people attend in different households. And we had a great time. So that's happening, coming up in October. So save the date for, I think it's October 23rd to 25th. Those tickets, it will sell out. It will sell out. So you're going to want to come to that. If you want to dive into the Motivation Mastery, especially going into the school year, like that's about the right time when you're going to have questions, right? School would have gone on for 1 or 2 months. And then the other thing is that I have one spot left in my in my Family Foundations Immersion year-long program. So if that is something that you're like, you know, I would love to study with you, Vanessa. I would love to find a way to be connected with other families and in community right now. These 7 pillars sound amazing. It's totally making sense to me. Then you're probably a great fit. And to find out, you'll take a parent discovery quiz, which I'll stick into the comments as well. When you take the quiz, there's an opportunity for you to sign up for a strategy breakthrough session with me, a parent strategy session. And so you can apply for that. And if you qualify, we'll just meet for about 20 minutes and we'll go over your quiz results, see which pillars you need the most support with. And if it makes sense and it's a good fit, then I would recommend to you what your next steps could be, whether they're with me or whether it's with, you know, independent study. I just want to make sure that you have a roadmap going forward to build more resilience in your family. So thank you for listening. So good to have you here. Congratulations on just even coming along for the ride today. And just know that you can have this, you know, you can have this in your world. I'll link it in the comments. You can have this in your world and just even put it somewhere you'll walk by and just say like, I wonder what it would be if I were to just relook at our routine today, if that could be the thing that could shift my day, etc. So it's my gift to you to have that guide. And the next 7 weeks, I'll be coming back and giving tidbits about each one. And I'll see you there. Lots of love to you. Good luck with the rest of your week. I'll see you next Monday.